give me 1 second.
No
So,
problem.
thank you, Suhail. Thank you so much for sparing time once again uh, and taking this time out. This time to talk on Kabaddi. We have talked last time. We talked on lots of Indian sports, and this time, bringing it down to one very small specific thing which
Yeah,
you are very closely related to. So yeah, thank you so much. Am I
no problem.
loud and clear, right?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So quickly getting into questions. Uh, when was the first time you heard about this idea of Pro Kabaddi League coming up? Taking your memory way back, more than 10 years back.
It's funny. I remember I joined Star Sports in
Yes.
2014, and
Mm,
when I joined them, then I joined to host a show called Star Power, which was supposed
mhm.
to be the Indian Sports Center at the time. And
Okay.
at that time, at that point, that show then went off air, and
Hmm.
because India were touring England. And
Okay.
I was like, okay, chalo, what's next? What's next? What's on the horizon? What are the crickets coming up, etc., etc.
Mm,
What other sports are coming up? And then
mm,
suddenly, some people in the office started talking about Pro Kabaddi and saying there's a Kabaddi League coming. And
mm,
I'll be very honest, at that point,
mm,
most people's reactions were laughable. A lot of
mm.
people looked at it and said, "Oh, what is this? What's next? Gilli danda? What's
Yes.
next? Kite flying?" That
Oh,
was sort of the mood. That was the mood around a lot of
okay.
generic people, right?
Okay.
And then there was a section of people that were obviously very encouraged and
Mm,
saying, "Oh, wow, that's
okay.
interesting. I wonder how that's going to go." And then there was
Mm,
a very tight group who were working on
mm,
the league itself that really
mm,
believed in the product.
mm,
And at that point, there weren't many people who put their hand up saying, "I want to do commentary on this."
mm,
What is kabaddi? Why would anyone want to do commentary? And I said, look, for me, I want to be a
mm,
broadcaster. I want to
mm,
be a commentator.
mm.
And to get your foot in the door in cricket, as you know, is very difficult. So I
Mm.
said, you know what?
Yes.
I learn a new sport. I want to get
Mm,
into kabaddi. So I put my hand up at that point to become a pro kabaddi commentator. And I guess, as they say, as cliche as it sounds, the rest is
yes.
history. But
Yeah.
I think it was one of my best life decisions, I will say.
Oh.
I've had
Mm,
many decisions where I go on a gut feel. Something
okay.
at that time told me to go on this
Mm,
gut feel and put my hand up to do this. And I'm very,
okay.
very glad sitting here 10 years later that I made that
Mm,
decision because my life changed after that in
mm,
so many ways personally.
mm,
But I think the
yeah.
sport itself
Mm,
changed for the better for the rest of the globe.
mm,
India's very own sport of kabaddi was put on the
yeah.
global map, and I'll never
Yeah.
forget the day before Pro Kabaddi started. I think Kabaddi started on July 26, 2014, if I'm not wrong. I remember the
Yeah.
date quite clearly. But the day
Uh,
before that, we all went to the stadium, and the stadium was
mm,
still getting prepped, and the lights came on the mat for the first time because
mm,
here is a new format, indoor,
yeah.
completely different, razzmatazz of the
Mm,
lights and everything else.
mm,
And the lights came on an empty mat for the first time at the dome at the
mm,
NSCI. And
mm,
I'm telling you, I sit here and I get goosebumps today because
yeah.
I remember that moment so vividly. And
Mm,
I think that was the moment, the day minus one, T minus one, where the lights
mm,
came on for the first time, where I thought,
mm,
wow, we're on to something special.
mm,
And the fact that there are more than 330, 350 million people watching it, I think we have validation now that we definitely have a very special sport on our hands.
Okay. So now you spoke about jumping on this opportunity of being a commentator and the voice of the Pro Kabaddi League. Oh, can you recall the first ever match where you were involved as an active commentator for Pro Kabaddi League, and
Yeah,
how did you prepare for the initial years and first 2 seasons of as a commentator? Because it is a very common knowledge, very little
yeah,
information was available on the players, how the how the entire game will pan out. There have been changes in the rules and regulations. So, what were your preparations? Because as a commentator, you need to
yeah,
be through and through with your preparation stats and name of
yeah.
the player. So what were your preparations in the initial years and the first ever match, the first part of this question, first ever match as you as
I
a
think that's
commentator of PKL?
That's a very
Yes.
good question. That's a very good
Mm,
question, and I think I'll break it down into two parts.
yeah, yeah.
First, I think I've had the privilege of
Mm,
commentating on every opening match and every final of Pro Kabaddi from season one all the
okay,
way till season nine. Obviously, this season I'm
okay.
not in the commentary
Yeah,
box, but
yeah.
in every season that I was part of the commentary panel, I've
Mm,
had the privilege and the honor and the responsibility of commentating
mm,
on the final and the opening
mm,
match of the season.
mm,
And I
mm,
think to me, the first season will always be special because, like you said, at that
mm,
point, we had no information.
Hmm.
I remember there was one YouTube video that had, I think, a 1990 Asian Games, and I watched it
Okay.
on loop just to
Okay.
understand the rules a bit more, to understand the changes
Hmm.
in the rules as well. And there
Hmm.
was a Maharashtra Kabaddi legend, Raju Bhavsar, former
Okay.
captain of India.
Hmm.
I told him, he was part of our experts then, and I
Hmm.
told him, sir, I said, I'm already apologizing to you in advance because I am
Hmm.
someone who loves to get everything bang on. I need to
Yes.
know more than I
Hmm.
need to know. And
Hmm.
I am going to irritate you for the next 2 months. So I made it
Hmm.
my life's
Hmm.
motto at that point to
Hmm.
work harder than anyone that
Hmm.
I knew. Because also you have to understand, Prakhar, that there is a
Hmm.
bias in India towards very young people, or there was a bias 10 years ago. Today, the
Okay.
youngsters of India are doing
Hmm.
wondrous things in all fields. But back then,
Sure.
I was the youngest commentator in sport, and to me,
Hmm.
I didn't want anyone to say, who is this young boy? He doesn't know anything. So
Hmm.
for me, there was an added responsibility where I said I need to know more about the
Hmm.
sport than anyone can
Hmm.
try to know as
Hmm.
well. And I tried to speak to former players, to former Asian Games gold medalists,
Hmm.
coaches, players who were active at the time as well, team owners, whoever I could get my hands on at the time, just to
Hmm.
understand the sport better, so that it could reflect in my commentary. Because I was
Hmm.
also jumping into a commentary box for the first time. It was the first
Hmm.
sport I was ever commentating on live
Oh.
television. So there was
Hmm.
that added pressure. I was
Hmm.
commentating with a lot of people who had done this for a long time themselves. So for me,
Hmm.
there was always this pressure of saying, who is this young boy who's jumped into my seat? And if
Hmm.
someone is taking someone or who is reputed and been around a long time, if you take their seat, you have the responsibility of owning that seat and doing justice to
Hmm.
it. So for me,
Hmm.
I knew that I had to do more work than anyone else to do justice to that role. And hopefully, I can say with a lot of conviction and a lot of humility that I put in the hard yards, and thankfully the respect for it has come over the last decade as a voice of the sport as well.
Absolutely. So now this year you're not involved in the commentary team, commentary box. But do
Yeah.
you wish you could go back to being the voice of the PKL, or does it sometimes happens you're watching the match by the sidelines and you go by the flow and words keep coming into your head, and this is how I I wish I could have described the situation.
Yeah,
Does that
it's very
happen?
natural. I think it's very natural to miss the commentary box because
Hmm.
I think I
Hmm.
had so much fun there. I built so many memories.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
Paddy and me formed a combination in the commentary box, which many people
Hmm.
have loved over
Hmm.
so many seasons as well. So
Hmm.
many others within the commentary space that I've enjoyed a great relationship with,
Hmm.
and I really truly enjoyed, and I think I added a lot of value.
Hmm.
And people reached out to me and would come up to me and thank me. I remember a young student came to me and said, "Sir, your kabaddi commentary, we use it in our English lessons in my school, and we are
Okay.
really thankful for your commentary because
Hmm.
your my teacher uses you as an example for us in our English
Oh.
lessons." And to me,
Hmm.
I never thought of that. I never thought of people
Hmm.
actually tuning into that lens, right? And I think
Hmm.
what was very important was that over the first few seasons, all of us in the commentary box were educating the viewers. And I think it
Hmm.
was very important that we played that role where we were educating
Hmm.
ourselves on the sport to try and understand the nuances, but we were
Hmm.
also educating newer and newer viewers that were coming to the
Hmm.
sport. So I think
Hmm.
we held a big responsibility, all of us collectively, as a
Hmm.
network, as commentary panel. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's natural to miss it. There were times, there are times through the season where I think of a line and I'm like, wow, I remember exactly what I would have said in that
Hmm.
moment. And,
Hmm.
there's a passion, there's always a passion for the sport.
Hmm.
And it comes out. I'm still very active as a broadcaster on other
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
So, it's still there. The passion is still there. I
Hmm.
enjoy it. But I think
Hmm.
obviously when you switch roles,
Hmm.
you're looking for growth and that's why you do
Hmm.
it. And I think for me,
Hmm.
after 9 seasons of being a commentator there, I wanted a new challenge. I wanted
Hmm.
something that would help me grow as a human
Yeah.
being. I wanted
Hmm.
something that would really push me and test me further.
Hmm.
And I think having started my own startup in the kabaddi
Hmm.
space as well, I
Hmm.
had the conviction that I know how to run kabaddi as a business as well and can add value on that front.
Hmm.
So after 9 seasons of doing commentary, I think I gave it everything that I had, and I think it's the right time to make that shift. Having said
Hmm.
that, if I'm ever needed again, if there's a match where Mumbai is not playing, or if there's a
Yeah.
World Cup or any other international
Hmm.
games, as it was
Yeah.
the Asian Games, I called
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
match of the Indian Asian Games as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever kabaddi is around, I'm always available and
Hmm.
happy to lend my voice.
Okay. So after 9 seasons having a ringside view of PKL and now 10th season closely involved with one particular team, how do you how what can you say? How has the league evolved over the years? A decade in a decade, how has the league changed and evolved?
I think the evolution has happened in multiple facets. Let's take, for instance, firstly, the
Mm,
players and what they are earning, and therefore
mm,
how the livelihoods of players has changed. In season
mm,
one, Rakesh Kumar, who was the most expensive player, took away
mm,
12 lakh rupees. This
mm,
year, the highest paid player is taking home close to 2.75 crore
mm,
rupees, right? Upwards of 2.6 CR for
mm,
Pawan Sarawat. So
mm,
you suddenly see, firstly, lives have changed. Your
mm,
lowest player in D category
mm,
is earning 10 lakhs, right?
mm,
Your C category player is earning 13 lakh rupees. And that is what
mm,
Rakesh Kumar earned as the most expensive player back in season one. So I think the evolution, firstly, has happened in a large way there. B, I think the sport has become more professional. From a coaching perspective, it's become more professional. There's a lot more data being used. There's a lot more video analysis being used as well. From a player
mm,
perspective, they
mm,
realize that the fitness standards that they had in season one were
mm,
not going to cut it. And suddenly
mm,
you're seeing much fitter players, much more hardworking players.
mm,
They realize
mm,
the opportunity that persists for them as well is there. So you're seeing a professionalism that's coming into the players. I think there is still some professionalism lacking. And I think that'll come when the rest of the year also sees the players a bit more busy, because right now they are busy for 3 months of the year with top level kabaddi. And after that, they slack off. So a lot of the players suddenly switch back on 1 month before the Pro Kabaddi season. And I think that needs to change. Players need
mm,
to start thinking like professionals 24/7, not just for the 90 days of the Pro Kabaddi League. And I think that is a challenge that a lot of teams are facing, where players come in thinking that they can suddenly become mentally and physically fit
mm,
in 1 month before the season. That doesn't happen. And I think
mm.
when you look at other sports, that's especially sports that are at the top level, cricket at the moment in India, players are busy 12 months of the year,
Yeah.
and they are professionals 12 months of the year. So I've told our U
Mm,
Mumba boys, I said, whether you're in the supermarket, whether you're at home, whether you're in a school, whether you're, with your family, remember you're a U Mumba player 365 days a year. Act like a
mm,
U Mumba player, act with
mm,
responsibility, be a good human being. These are
mm,
non-negotiables for me
mm,
at U Mumba. And I think this is something that I encourage them to remember, not just when they're with us physically in the team, but
mm,
through the whole year, even when they're not
mm,
with us, to carry
mm,
the spirit of what we stand for.
mm. Interesting. Now, what in your experience has made PKL the second most watched league in India? And the data says ever since it has begun, it has not let its position get captured by any other league. It is right behind IPL, the second most watched, followed across platforms. So, what is the reason for its supreme consistency, if I can say?
Firstly, I don't think that's going to change. I think it is very firmly India's second sport, and it will remain
Okay,
India's second
okay.
sport for a long time to
Hmm,
come.
hmm,
And when you look back now in hindsight, there is a lot of
hmm,
things that were done well
hmm,
straight off the bat. Firstly,
hmm,
the small tweaks in the format made it
hmm,
very, very pacey, right? You've added a
hmm,
30-second raid clock, you've added a
hmm,
do or die raid, and you've
hmm,
now increase the pace of the game
hmm,
massively. The bonus line comes in. You've got all these various rules that have slowly
hmm,
tweaked the game. You didn't take
hmm,
away the essence of the sport, but you made
hmm,
small tweaks to make it
hmm,
faster for the viewer. That, to me, guaranteed that every 30 seconds you have a high point, right?
hmm,
Or every minute max, you're going to get a high point. That to me is
hmm,
massive. One.
hmm,
Two, I think just the packaging of the sport, from taking it to the mud, to the mat, really committing. And I have to give Star Sports,
hmm,
credit for this. They committed to the sport. They threw all their eggs into the basket and said, you know what? If we're doing it, let's do it properly. Because I think at the same time, there was another league that was going on in Kabaddi
hmm.
as well, World Kabaddi League or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And you could see a very stark difference in the
uh,
production value and the
yeah,
output of what came out. And I think,
yeah,
therefore, kudos to Star Sports at that time, back in
hmm,
2014, to say, you know what, let's commit. If we're doing this, let's throw all our eggs into this basket and do it properly. So that was two. Three,
hmm,
let's remember this is India's very own sport. We have all
yeah,
played it. Whether in school you were forced to
hmm,
play it just to understand what kabaddi was to India, or
hmm,
you played it, in your college or in your society or
hmm,
on the beach,
hmm,
everyone has heard of kabaddi, and therefore
hmm,
there's a very emotional heartstrings that is tugged. And I think
hmm,
when you look at the emotional angle to kabaddi, it is very,
hmm,
very high in India. And I think
yeah,
that is something that is extremely important when you think about why it resonated with our country,
hmm,
because it's a sport that is so rooted in our
hmm,
culture, and it's very simple to understand. You don't need equipment, You can draw a line anywhere and you can play, right? So very,
mm,
very simple to understand and very simple to play. And my final point is we have the world's best players playing. And I think when
mm,
you look at any league that is extremely successful, you have the
mm,
world's best players and you have very good team owners. I think the team owners being good and strong is a non-negotiable. I've seen so many leagues, Prakhar, and I've been a part of
mm,
several leagues now as a
mm,
commentator or from the business side of
mm,
things or
mm,
as a mentor.
mm, mm,
But for me, the one thing I think that any league needs to think of as a non-negotiable is the
mm,
quality of owners that come into it. Not just the money value, not
mm,
the money value that they bring, but the quality of
mm,
owners. Because when the going gets tough, good
mm,
owners come together
mm,
to solve a problem. Good owners
mm,
don't then stab each other or try and take a route out. And I think that's something that we found with Kabaddi. There were always challenges, but the
mm,
owners, when there were challenges, came together to understand how best to solve it, came together with the league. That is something that is an absolute non-negotiable, together with the fact that the best players in the world are playing it. And I think that's
mm,
why fans get top billing of viewership, right? You don't get third tier or fourth tier viewing, you're getting top viewership of the best talent in the world.
mm. Okay, so now something that is very close to you. Now I'm talking about Yuva Kabaddi series. So how did this came into existence and how was it eventually helping PKL?
So, I always think the best things happen when they're not planned. I
Okay.
was meeting my co-founder a lot at different
Mm,
conferences, and we started chatting. Arvind Sivdas is his
mm,
name. He's from IIT, from IIM, very
mm,
structured, typical,
mm,
very
mm,
smart Indian, a guy who
mm.
went through the figures of the startup world as well.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
passionate about sport. And
Mm,
we would meet constantly at different
mm,
conferences. And he said,
mm,
you know what, let's do something on Kabaddi together. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do it.
mm,
And for us, we wanted to build something out that was impact creating. He had a background in tech as well. So we had first actually built out, together with his wife as well, we built out
mm,
a tech platform called Kabaddi Adda.
mm,
Unfortunately, we had a very bad experience with another co-founder
mm,
who was there with us. And even though we went on Shark Tank, we
mm.
raised, we had a very good outing on Shark Tank, raised money there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
We unfortunately had to then fall out of that deal and fall out of the company because of
Mm,
the co-founder Srikant, who was there with us at the
mm,
time.
mm,
And it was a very bad experience for us.
mm,
In many ways, I think it was a low from which we look back on now as a blessing in
mm,
disguise, because I think
mm.
we rallied together when that happened.
Wow.
When people misuse their
Mm,
status and
mm,
their relationship with somebody, I think
mm,
you have to then find a way to come back from it. And I think I'm
mm,
very proud of the fact that our entire team came together out of that, restarted a fresh company altogether, changed the entire business model. And from being a
mm,
tech company that was trying to build the cricket for of Kabaddi, we changed to a
mm,
physical model. And
mm,
we said, you know what, let's start creating more Kabaddi. Because in
mm.
COVID, Kabaddi stopped. And so,
Right.
what is the point of having a tech Kabaddi platform if there's no Kabaddi being played? And we said, you
Mm,
know what, if we actually build out the next rung of Kabaddi, and we looked at the NCAA in America,
mm.
the
Yeah.
NBA has the NCAA, which
Yeah.
provides such a massive number of players, but also the revenue that it generates as well. And we said, why can't we replicate that in India? Let's create that as a platform so that talent can be given a platform to showcase themselves and be picked by Pro Kabaddi scouts and by Pro Kabaddi teams. And let's make it easy for Pro Kabaddi teams to find a scouting place where they can pick
Mm,
up talent as well. So
mm.
we restructured this, we restarted the company together. And touchwood, the same sharks that wanted to invest in with us in from
Yeah.
Shark Tank, who
Yeah.
couldn't back then, have
Yeah.
invested in this company. Namita and Vinita
Yeah.
are a part of this company, which shows
Mm,
you the fact that they have faith in us as individuals as well.
yeah.
But the rise has been amazing. We've had close to 70 players in this edition of Pro Kabaddi come from the Yuva series. And that to me
Mm,
is a staggering number of players.
mm,
We have players who are earning close to 90 lakh rupees from earning nothing but 10,000 or 20,000 rupees in a year from Kabaddi earlier. So for me,
mm,
the impact that we are making at the
mm,
grassroots level through sport and through Kabaddi at
mm,
Elevate and at Elevate India Sports, which is our company name, and through the Yuva Kabaddi series is
mm,
monumental. I mean, I've had teams, Pro Kabaddi teams, reach out to me and say thank you for giving us
mm,
this because we are finding talent because of it. And to me,
mm,
that is the best validation that we can get. Is that
mm,
A, we are giving players the opportunity to earn money and
mm,
earn a livelihood through sport. Other people within villages, the entire village is now playing Kabaddi because of the Yuva Kabaddi series, because they're saying,
mm,
sir, because of you, We have the
mm,
ability to earn money from kabaddi, and thank you for that. And
mm,
we are getting the opportunity to be picked by a pro kabaddi team. So for us,
mm,
we want to be seen as the feeder series to the Pro Kabaddi League,
mm,
whether you know we supply 70 players or 100 players or 30 players. We
mm,
want there to be a platform where for 200 days of the year, these young boys are busy playing kabaddi as well, and we
mm,
want to do this in a professional manner. And thankfully, Fancode and Dream 11 have been such good
mm,
supporters of this. They've been doing it,
mm,
given how much work they do in the Dream Sports Foundation as well. So yeah, it's been really nice to have that support.
Okay. So recently, Pro Kabaddi League hit a very monumental landmark of hosting its 1,000th match. It's a humongous number. So if I were to ask you to, as a commentator, as a broadcaster, to describe Pro Kabaddi League's journey from a T minus one, as you said, to reaching 1,000 match, how would you put your commentator's cap on and just try to summarize and describe PKL's journey, this huge journey from T minus one to 1,000?
If I want to keep it short and crisp, I will
Yeah.
say monumental,
Mhm,
life changing,
mhm,
and changing the landscape of global sport.
mhm.
These are three
Okay.
things that instantly come to mind. What Pro
Mhm,
Kabaddi has done has
mhm,
changed the way
mhm,
the globe looks at Indian sport. It has put
mhm,
an Indian sport on the map, and I don't think in the history of global sport have we
mhm,
seen an indigenous sport
mhm,
revolutionize itself the way Pro
mhm,
Kabaddi has. So
mhm,
monumental,
mhm,
game changing or life changing, and
mhm,
changing the landscape of global sport. For me,
mhm,
these are three simple ways to describe what Pro Kabaddi has done in the last 10 years. And
mhm.
yeah, I think changed lives for the better.
Okay. If you were to give people, the readers of this interview, name of some players whose lives are completely transformed because of this Pro Kabaddi League, who would those few players would be just on the top of your at the top of your head?
I mean, if you look at, I'll give you different examples, right?
Sure.
Obviously, a
Yeah.
Pavan Sarawat is
Yes.
earning crores of rupees, and that's
Yes.
understandable, right? You think
Yes.
of a Maninder Singh from season
Mm,
one all the way
mm,
to where he is today. That
yes.
man's life has changed. Pardeep Narwal, for me, I have spent time in his home in Rindhana and seen
Okay.
the influence he has had on the entire town of Rindhana in Haryana
Okay.
as well. And the number of players that have come from there, to me,
Mm,
tells you the story. But
mm,
then, to me, the
mm,
more important stories are a guy like Masana Muttu. He is part of the Tamil Talaivas. We bid for him
mm.
till 30 lakh rupees. Now, this is a young man who is earning no money whatsoever.
Okay.
His parents come from extremely humble backgrounds in Tamil Nadu. Now, this is a
Mm,
boy who, from going from earning about a lakh of rupees in the entire year or less than that, is
mm,
earning a 30 lakh rupee contract.
mm,
And that is because of the Yuva Kabaddi series and then the Pro Kabaddi auction as well. You think of
mm,
youngsters who come into here into the season of Pro Kabaddi for the first time who are suddenly
mm,
earning 10 lakhs, 13 lakh rupees, more than that. Nitin Dhankar, a player at the Bengal Warriors, he's earning 30
mm,
plus lakh rupees as well. Guys like that who are suddenly changing the way their entire family, their entire society, the entire community looks at
mm,
Kabaddi. To me,
mm,
these are the impact stories. Forget the
mm,
top of the run guys who've already now made the cut. These are the
mm,
guys that, to me, really deserve all the credit as well. And then look at guys from Iran. A
mm,
youngster like Zafar has come in and earned 68 lakh rupees, and Ali Reza gets the opportunity to play in a country like India, Hyder Ali Akrami. These are guys who are incredibly grateful for the opportunity and are making a name for themselves outside of their own country. So I think
mm,
Kabaddi has had a very different influence on multiple players like this. And it's super stardom that you get also quite quickly. Suddenly, these are guys who are getting selfies and everything taken at airports and everywhere else. So it's
mm,
nice to see Kabaddi players earn the recognition that they deserve,
mm,
that was set up by all the players in the past. And I think that's the only thing I wish that the players of yesteryear also get the recognition that players today are getting. And it's nice to see coaches who are former Asian Games gold medalists, like our coach as well,
mm,
Ghulam Reza or Manpreet or anyone
mm,
else that's been a part of it, getting the recognition that they deserve as coaches today because they didn't get the opportunity to play in Pro Kabaddi.
mm. Okay. So now when I was reading on PKL, I came across this interesting fact that a league purely dedicated to women, Kabaddi League purely dedicated to women. It took off, but it has not continued. It was on an experimental basis, and now another league, Ultimate Kho, that is also, and their chairman is also planning to have a purely Kho league dedicated to women, so that women are also encouraged into these sports. So, are there any plans for Pro Kabaddi League to have a purely dedicated women's league
I,
as well?
I think there are plans, and I think it needs to be done at the right time and in the right way. We've already
Mm,
seen exhibition matches being done by us at Yuva Kabaddi
mm,
series as well.
mm,
In the lead up to every series of ours, we start
mm,
actually with a women's match. We
mm,
are actually building a process of doing more women's kabaddi at the Yuva
mm,
series as well. But I know
mm,
Pro Kabaddi also has plans to do the same, and I think the time will be timed right. I think you
mm,
have to do it with a good reason. You
mm,
have to do it with a lot of thought as well because you want the right revenue to come
mm,
to the product as well. As you're seeing with the WPL in cricket, it took its time,
mm,
but when it did happen, we saw a windfall there. So I
mm,
think there's a lot of elements that need to come together. I
mm,
think the last league that you're reading about with women's league, it was not done by the right people. It
mm,
was not really
mm,
sanctioned. So
mm,
you need to do it in a methodical manner. You need to do it in the
mm,
right way so that the right
mm,
talent also gets
mm,
the opportunity. You don't want to do
mm,
it where you do it once and then the league fails, and then again, anyone that's
mm,
invested
mm,
is not going to touch women's sport again. So I think
mm,
there's a responsibility to do it correctly, and when
mm,
you do it in a big manner. So I think it'll be
mm,
timed the right way by Pro Kabaddi and by whoever does it.
mm,
And I think when it does happen, it'll be very very exciting for the sport because there is a lot of very good women's kabaddi talent out there from Tamil Nadu to Haryana to Himachal to Rajasthan and everywhere else to
mm,
Maharashtra. There's a lot of very good women's kabaddi talent, and I think it's going to be impressive when we do see it happen.
Okay, finally, the success of Pro Kabaddi League is becoming a case study in itself. So, if any upcoming league had to take three lessons to make in itself a big league, a successful league as Pro Kabaddi League, what would those three key lessons will be?
Get the right team owners.
Okay.
Don't overprice your team and don't be greedy in
Mm,
the early part of building a league.
mm,
And I think that's a big lesson to many league owners that are
mm,
starting many leagues at this point as well. Um,
mm,
and grow the sport from the ground up. You need to
mm,
not only look at the 1 month or the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks that you're or the
mm,
3 months that you're investing in the sport, but invest in the sport. I think you
mm,
must invest in the sport itself and create an ecosystem where the sport can flourish. And that way, you'll commit to the product. And I think if I had to add a fourth thing, it would be commit to the product. If you don't commit full 100%, don't do it. So
mm,
either go in and do it 100% because it all depends on how season one and season two go.
mm.
Commit or don't do it at all.
Mm. Thank you so much, Suhail, for taking the time out and speaking and enriching our lives with the insights of Pro Kabaddi League. And along with this, the journey continue and all the best for the rest of the season of U Mumba. Right? Kind of
Thank you.
stuck in the middle of the table, but yeah, hopefully the season ends well for U Mumba.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight season. We're looking forward to the next ones. There's some good games coming up, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's always nice when there's a tough fight around. So
yeah,
yeah, it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see where this pans out.
Just one a small thing that day when I met you at the airport, I saw the book. I saw a book in your hand. I could not make the title of the book. As a purely as a passionate reader, I would want to know which book you were reading.
Let me tell you, Sandeep. एक मिनट वो मेरा बैग देना.
I wanted to, but you quickly disappeared from my line of sight, and I could not. I want to read as many
I
books
will.
as possible.
Nice. So, well, there's another book called The Psychology of Money. You should definitely read that. Um,
That I have, that everyone has.
yeah.
I
So,
brushed through few pages.
yeah.
Someday
So,
I will
no, you
finish
should you
that.
should read you should read that. You should read that end to end. I think it's a fabulous book. There's
Okay,
another
I
book
will.
called The Captain Class. The
Okay.
Captain Class, another book that I highly recommend. But the book that you
Uh,
saw was this.
okay, same as ever.
Same
Acha, by the same author. By the same
same
author.
author.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
But
Now I won't miss the book. Now I won't miss the book. Okay.
you should read The Captain Class. It's a very good book.
Oh, captain's class. Captain class.
The Captain Class.
The captain class. Okay. Just
Yeah.
give it. Thank you so much. Thank you so
No
much
worries.
for sparing the
Thanks,
time out.
Prakhar.
All the best.
Take care.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you.
Bye.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Prakhar.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you. Bye.